Good morning,
Good
Rahul.
morning.
Pleasure and privilege to meet you here. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. So, first of all, congratulations on the Forbes 30 under 30. You join a really elite list of people who made it and got that much deserved accolade. So, so let's start from the beginning, Rahul. Okay, and I want to keep this as conversational as we can. I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what led to Unschool.
Sure.
What were you doing before Unschool, and what led to Unschool, and what when you thought about setting it up, what was the kind of process you went through to say, okay, listen, I think this is a problem which is waiting to be solved, and I can possibly be the person who can solve it.
Right. So, good morning, MSR. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure sitting in front of you. I've been waiting for a sit down conversation with you for a long time, and it's happening. Uh, so I think to talk about Unschool, I have to talk about a little bit about my life that had a lot to do with what I'm doing today and what problem we are solving at Unschool. Uh, so I'm a Hyderabadi. So typically until 8th standard, luckily I was part of an ICSE board school. I was good at sports, good at academics, good at extracurriculars. Sort of, the teacher's pet. Things were going really well, and then things went well for my dad as well financially, so he decided to buy a home, for which we had to shift schools because we were moving from one place to another. And it so happens that, again, the reason I said I'm a Hyderabadi, a typical Telugu middle class family, is because the next dream, obviously, for my family, if not for my parents, was I'll become the next Sharma ji ka beta, Varma ji ka beta in my sense, and become the next IITian in the family and make them really proud. Little did they know I was not really book smart, I was street smart. So in 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th, I joined a typical IIT coaching center, went through math, physics, and chemistry for 12 hours in the day and nothing else. Lost playing cricket, lost playing football, lost giving
So you
elocutions.
gave up life.
Yeah, sort of. I didn't realize it back then. The idea was he's paying so much tuition fee for me, so I have to make him proud, my dad. So that was the whole ideology. But then I realized sooner or later that probably I won't make it to IIT. And I informed that at home as well. But they were like, no, you have it in you, you can do it, right? So I think that was a major milestone for me. What I went through, looking back in hindsight, I realized that for me to find a job, for me to do anything in college, for me to get recognized, the fact that I'm sitting in front of you and speaking to you, all of this came from my experience of what I had learned before my ninth standard, before getting into IIT coaching. So after 12th, I did not get into IIT. I got into one of the private institutes, SRM University in Chennai, a pretty good college. That opened up the wings for me back again. It's a 350-acre campus with 30,000 students studying in it. There's people from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, east to west, studying there. So that sort of, helped me spread my wings back again, become who I was. And I come from a business family. My dad is a hotelier. He has hotels in Shirdi, pilgrimage places, etc. So sort of probably it's been there in the blood. So in college, after the first year, I spent more time outside of the classroom than inside the classroom. I learned a lot of things. I joined a youth-run organization there, which had its office in the city of Chennai, and my college was in the outskirts of Chennai, which means I would wait for the bell to ring, the last period to end in college at 3 p.m. to catch the 4 p.m.
Bus.
Local train. It was a 40 kilometers journey, about 20 stations to go. Get down there, take a share auto to one place, and then take a bus to another place. So that was to and fro about 100 kilometers for me, almost on a weekly basis, and at one point on a daily basis. Coming back at 1 a.m. to take the textbook out, just by heart everything, and then go write the exam. So all of these are part of what Unschool is trying to solve and where my journey began from. I learned a lot from these youth run organizations. I got placed in college, I got placed in an IT job, but I got placed in a lot more organizations because of the extracurricular experiences that I've had in college, right? So looking back in hindsight, everything that I've done and everything that I'm today is because of the extracurricular or outside of the classroom experiences that I've got. And that's why we chose the name Unschool as well. A lot of people mistake Unschool for saying that, wow, you don't respect schools, you're disrespecting, you're opposite to schools as soon as they hear the name Unschool. But for us, it was like, when you learn something, let's say you learn something wrong or bad, what do you do as a child? You unlearn it and you relearn it. So that was Unschool for us. You're doing schooling the way that it has been done since the last hundreds of years, but now technology has changed so much. We're talking about having flying cars, having a civilization in Mars, a lot of them coming true as well, right? So if you're looking at technology, the world in a different way, why not look at schooling or education and learning in a different way? So our idea was take two steps back, look at the way you have to learn for the skills that are required today for the industry today, and that's what Unschool is. So yeah, I did that, graduated from college in 2016. For a year and a half, I joined my friends in an edtech startup again in Bangalore, my captain. That was a great experience for me. In those 18 months that I was there with them, I built a team from ground up, uh, built a 60-member team. So I realized I have it in me. I can actually do this. So that is when I decided, let's come back to the hometown of Hyderabad, start something of my own. So that's primarily how Unschool started and why it started, in
So
terms of my
2018,
19.
19.
Yes,
So been about 5 years now.
it's been about 5 years now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So let's spend a little bit of time uh, trying to decipher what Unschool is about.
right.
What are you trying to solve
Sure,
for at
sure,
Unschool?
sure. So I think the first question for us was in 2018 when I was thinking of starting something. There's hundreds of online platforms out there, edtech platforms out there. What is the need for another one? Was the first question in my head. But then I realized that when I was in college, I was given multiple courses to do, and some of them were from really good platforms like Coursera, Udemy. It was mandatory for us to finish those courses, and only then we will get the credits to finish our semester and get our degree. But looking back, although the courses were actually brilliant, I did not have the motivation to sit in front of the computer and listen to hours and hours of pre recorded videos. And more importantly, from a person who's a foreigner who's teaching me in his own sense of how things are going on in that particular country, not to the Indian context per se. And similar was the story for hundreds of students, my own classmates, my own batchmates, etc. So the first problem was, yes, there are platforms out there, but students are not completing those courses even after enrolling for them. The second problem was, let's say I did complete a few courses. I remember taking my resume to tens of interviews in my pre-placement process or placement process in college. Not one person would turn the CV to the second page and spend more than 10 seconds actually looking at my courses that I've done. They would look at what internships I've done, what extracurriculars I've done, what is my CGPA, etc. But they would never spend more than 10 seconds looking at what courses
Courses
I've done.
you've done.
So the second question was, how can we tangify the fact that you've taken a skill from a course and that's actually going to be helpful for you in your career progress enhancement? So those were the two questions. One is the completion rates and second is the outcome.
Understood.
Right. And that's where Unschool comes in. Unschool provides a marketplace where anyone and everyone who is qualified, obviously, from around the world can create a high quality course on our platform. We sort of wanted to make an Amazon for learning, right? Or an Uber for learning, where anyone with the knowledge and expertise, be it in football, be it in artificial intelligence, be it in chess, be it in marketing, can put up a course on Unschool and we help them market those courses to the students in India. So we became a marketplace, and what we did is, in addition to just providing the pre-recorded videos created by these industry leaders, we brought in concept of projects, minor project, major project. I mean, now it's a common thing, but 5 years back that was not the scenario. uh, we brought in live sessions and we brought in a very interesting concept, because one thing that I really missed in college, which my peers told they would get in their MS masters when they go to the US, UK, etc., was there's always this teaching assistant. The teaching assistant is always, assisting the teacher with respect to grading the assessments or making the assessments, announcing the schedules, announcing the classes. And that really helped a lot in terms of how the teacher is delivering the class and how the students are also feeling about it. So we took inspiration from that, and we called it the junior coach model because our instructors are called coaches. We don't see them as teachers, just delivering information. They're actually coaching you through the process of getting to where you want to be. So the junior coach is someone who is actually nudging you, calling you up. Hey, you had taken the course on May 20th. It's June 6th today. And based on our data, average completion by this time should be about 25%. But you're still at 5%. Is there anything that I can do to help you?
Understood.
So that's how we
kind of
change.
nudge.
Yeah, a lot of nudges. So that's why we stand today at a 60% completion rate, which we believe is the highest in the industry with self-paced learning. There's also cohort-based learning like in college. You can achieve 100% as well.
So how do you,
Yeah.
in terms of onboarding somebody,
Yeah.
does the on who's building a course onto your
Right.
platform,
Right.
do they have to go through some kind of validation
Of course.
by someone in your team?
No, absolutely.
Who'll say, okay, okay, this is good to go, and I can upload this on the platform?
Absolutely.
Or is it laissez-faire? Anybody can upload what he wants.
No, we do have a very stringent process actually.
Okay.
So what we do is we wait for at least 3 entries to come for that particular topic. Let's say someone wants to teach graphic design. We don't approach the person who's applied, the coach, immediately after one application. We wait for the applications to become 3, 4, 5, and then we reach out to them. We sort of interview all of them. The first thing we do is we check their CV to understand how many years of experience we have. We try to keep it at least 7 years of experience in the industry. Second, we sort of try to understand how their teaching skills are. So we actually ask them to make a PPT and make a pre-recorded video on one particular topic of the whole course that they would make. That is the second step. And the third step is it's really important for us to understand what is the motivating factor for them to actually put up a course, because anyone with 7 to 8 years of experience would be earning a hefty amount in the corporate world, that too in a big company. So for us it was, why are you here? Is it monetary aspects that motivated you to come here? Is it something else?
Something bigger.
So we try to understand that they have a passion towards teaching, because what happens is there's a lot of people out there, including you, me, everyone, with a lot of knowledge, but we're not teachers by profession. We're not teachers by skills. Imparting information is one thing, having information is one thing, right? So that is the 3 steps that a prospective coach goes through, and then we onboard him or her onto the platform, and that's how we do the whole process. We sign an MOU.
So how many courses do you have?
So we have about 150 courses in total, which is broken into 3 different programs. One is a skill program, where it's like a OTT for learning. You just subscribe for a monthly subscription or an annual subscription. You have all the 150 courses with you, and then you finish whatever you want, you start whatever you want, whenever you want. And then the second one is the internship program, which is where the guaranteed outcome comes into place, where the student actually goes through a program for about few months. It's self-paced, and then actually gets placed in an internship with our partner company. The third is the job program.
Understood. Okay. So Rahul, a couple of questions on what you just said.
Yeah.
Right. You explained about content and selection and all of that stuff. In terms of the corporate tie-ups which you talked about.
Yeah.
Today, 2 questions. One is what is the dropout rate for the courses? Second is what is the typical percentages you are seeing from a placement lens for the students who graduate?
Right.
And also the allied question, maybe I should have asked you this in the beginning. What is the demographic? Is it students in school? Is it students in college?
Yeah.
And so on. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me answer the second question first. That's really important in terms of context. So our courses are designed for college going students and working professionals. Having said that, we've had 10% of our customers. We have a total strength of about 1.5 lakh customers, paid customers, and we have about 350,000, 3.5 lakh users on the platform.
Okay.
So who can come consume content, and out of that about 1.5 lakhs have actually purchased a course with us, made a purchase with us.
Understood.
So if we look at that, about 10% of them have come from school or high school, 9th standard, 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard, although we do not market to them, it's completely organic. And the remaining 80% will be college going students. They might be doing their bachelor's or master's. And then another 10% is working professionals who are actually looking for jobs or enhancement in terms of their job. And then coming back to the question about how the drop-off rates are looking like, so first of all, we have about 60% completion rates, like I said. The remaining 40%, either we track them for about a good 6 months, right? Either they've completed a course after 6 months, or they've just dropped it off. And out of the 60% who's completed the course, only about 40% choose to apply for an internship within the Unschool ecosystem. And that has some factors influencing it. One is the college schedule doesn't allow them to do internships whenever and however. There's a certain time, like summer vacations, winter vacations, or at the end of their semester. So that's one. And second, there's some colleges who only say that you're supposed to do an internship with XYZ companies. We're giving you a list. You're only supposed to do an internship in these particular profiles. We're giving you a list.
Understood.
So that sort of discourages about a good number of people for applying for internship within the ecosystem. And out of that, we are actually able to see 80% placement rates, MSR, to answer your question precisely.
Okay, so 60% and 80%.
Yeah. Anyone who's applying, we are able to place 8 out of 10 people within a span of 15 days.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so Rahul, now let's just switch tracks a little bit. And you've been part of the Y Combinator program. And, I'd like to dig a little deeper there and figure out, what did you get out of the Y Combinator program?
Sure. So Y Combinator, all of these things, Forbes, Y Combinator, all of these were dreams when I was in college. So it's Y Combinator, what I studied, what scared me first is that you apply for the first time and you don't get in, and that's most certain most of the times. But we were very lucky to be able to get in. And I think for the larger crowd out there, Y Combinator is an accelerator program based out of the US, which started about a few decades back, who's got founders like Airbnb. In fact, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was once a Y Combinator alum and also the president of Y Combinator at one point of time. So what they do is they open 2 applications. One is for the summer cohort and one is for the winter cohort. They receive typically about 30 to 40,000 applications for each cohort, and they select about 200 to 300 startups. So they see about 0.75% to 1% selection rates that way. Typically, you apply for it. If your idea is good enough, they give you an interview. And what's very interesting is it's only a 10-minute interview with 5 people sitting in the panel in front of you over a video call and shooting questions at you left, right, and center. By the end of the interview, because it's only 10 minutes, you never know if you did well or if you did bad. So in my sense, I thought I did very bad. I thought they were not in fact, I thought it was unfair that it was only 10 minutes and I couldn't get time to answer the questions or give them information about the company that would really make them understand how good it is. But yeah, after that 10 minutes, it's usually a tradition at YC. The same day you're given the result. If you're getting an email, that is most likely a rejection. If you're getting a call, that to an international number on WhatsApp, most likely you're selected. So it happened that we got a call actually. So YC program, after we got selected, is basically a 3-month program where they have sessions, they have office hours. And the best part is all of the people who are actually mentoring you over there, they call them group partners of YC, were once upon a time founders who got selected into YC and went through the program, like
who've been there, done that,
right? Who sold their companies for millions of billions of dollars, now have 3 to 4 companies under their belt, etc. So the group of experts or mentors really have that
Muscle.
profile, and you sort of are awestruck for the first 1 week, right? Am I really doing this? Am I really speaking to this person? Because they go down to the level of actually knowing your name. People from 40, 50 different countries are selected. They actually go through office hours with you. They spend 30 minutes with you. If I write something on a PPT and present it to them, it has a spelling mistake. They actually say there's a spelling mistake here, change
Okay.
this. So
Understood.
that's the amount of
Detail.
detail that they get into. And in those 3 months, the idea is at the end of 3 months, because now you're a YC company, it has sort of a branded weightage to it. uh, the given is that investors will start reaching out to you after that. So in order to do that, they call it something called a demo day. At the end of 3 months, there's about hundreds of investors who are part of that demo day, and you're only given 60 seconds to pitch your company.
Literally.
Literally 60 seconds. You pitch your company. Any investor who's found you interesting or your idea interesting will actually press a button on the platform that they've created, and I get an option. I get an email saying this person has shown interest in your startup, and that's how we take it
Great.
forward after that.
Did they take any equity?
They do take
Oh, no,
any equity.
YC. Did YC take any equity?
Yes.
Okay.
In our times, it was they invest about
Okay.
$125,000 for 7%
Of the
equity.
company. Okay.
Today, I think they're investing up to $500,000 for the
Same.
same 7% equity.
Understood. Understood. Okay, Rao, let's move on. And you mentioned your team size is about 90
Yeah,
people now.
yeah,
Yeah. So few questions on managing and building a team and so
right.
on, right? So how do you ensure that first of all you're able to attract high quality people to come and work for you, and how do you make sure that you keep them charged up, motivated, and you know delivering stuff?
Sure. So I think for us, our hiring and recruitment process has been organic. One, because our go-to market strategy majorly has been through our campus ambassador program. I come from an experience of having led student run organizations. I have experience building student communities, city communities, etc. So my idea in the beginning of Unschool was I do not have enough funds to be able to run ads on Facebook, digital marketing, etc. So what's the most like
Cost efficient.
cost efficient way of getting customers? Uh, so what I did is sort of hired interns from different colleges, told them that you would be working in your own campus. All you have to do is just set up seminars for me, just set up small kiosks for me inside the college. Just I'll send you a few posters over, print it out, I'll reimburse you for that, put it up in your notice board, bulletin boards, etc. And that's all you have to do. Keep talking to people about Unschool. At one point of time, we started sending them t-shirts, merchandise. Any person who would walk by would ask, Unschool, what is that, right? So that's how we sort of did that
Built a
guerrilla
brand
marketing.
awareness and
uh,
people.
that was initially just a hack, but it turned out that it worked so well that we continued. Even after 5 years, we still have that as a one of our major customer acquisition strategies. So what happens is, what's very interesting, and the reason I brought that up is about 15% of our employees have come, who have graduated from our campus ambassador program, who just took this up as an internship, 1 month internship,
And then
liked it
started.
so much
Then
that
they
they
started.
worked with us for 1 year, worked with us
That's
for
right.
2 years, got a pre-placement offer from us, and then joined us. And the second thing is, we believe in promoting from within the
Within,
organization instead of hiring from outside.
outside.
So the idea of attracting people, we've never focused on that. We focused on what can we do within the organization to make sure they grow to the next level.
Understood.
And third, we are not. It's not like we are a heavily funded startup out there, right? So we were frugal, also with salaries, I can admit. But I think the kind of uh, culture that we
Learning exposure,
learning and
etc.
exposure for a fresher who's come out there. The average age of people working with Unschool is about 24. That's
Okay.
the average age of all the 90 people who are there.
Working.
So that sort of helps. We don't need to get someone with 15 years of experience, pay them lakhs, and compete with the market out there. Our idea has been How can we pay 4 lakh per annum to someone instead of 40 lakh per annum to someone? Make them go through that 3 months journey, see if they have good fit, and promote from within. So that was the idea. Yeah.
Okay. So Rahul, EdTech in the last few months
Yeah.
has, particularly from a media standpoint, taken
Yeah.
a lot of beating,
Yeah.
right? And without going into names,
Yeah.
right? One of the questions I would have for you is, in terms of the challenging and fairly uncertain times,
Yeah.
what would you say would make you confident
Right.
that Unschool will be able to kind of, get through this
Sure.
interesting period? There is a little bit of skepticism, there's a little bit
Yeah.
of doubt
Yeah.
about the whole online thing, thanks
Yeah.
to other companies,
Yeah.
etc. So, what would you say is now going to be, the future, for
Right.
what you're trying to build? Suppose I were to ask you 3 years from now,
Right.
So let first is obviously, if it's possible, I'd love to hear what's your
Yeah.
current baseline,
Right.
and in 3 years' time, what do you expect to be able to get?
Sure. So great question, MSR. I mean, what I say probably will be a little controversial or up for debate, but I think what the last few years have done for edtech and for the startup ecosystem broadly, uh, we need to take it with a pinch of salt. There was a lot of fundraising, there was a lot of access to funds, and anyone who got into that, I would say, sort of fell into a trap, because many investors would approach us as well. And the first question they would ask us is, how do you see your baseline or your graph, your chart, continuing after COVID is done? And I would, including myself, I was part of the trap. This is going to continue. It's not because of COVID that we have grown so much. It's natural. It's because of the things that we have done. It's because of the decisions that we have taken that we are in this situation today. Unfortunately, the media and everything, like the news coming out, has affected us. The question in 2019 or 2020 from a customer when we gave them a call would be, why do you think I need to purchase an online course when I'm already going to college and learning a similar topic? The question today has transformed from that to, why do you think I should trust you?
Understood. Understood.
Are you sure that this is legitimate?
Understood.
Right? So that's the kind of place
Doubts and skepticism
that has that is in the market today. So for us, I think, like, for good or for bad, we did not raise a lot of money. In some cases, we were not able to raise a lot of money, because this is also, again, I'm going out of context, but I think, like, the paradoxical statement there is, if you have very little revenue to show, you're just a product, right? The investor is betting in how big the product can be. But we were not in that stage. We were in a stage where we were already delivering a lot of revenue. There was high growth. The question from them was, how can you keep this growth sustained? Right? You're growing 100% month on month, 200% sometimes during the COVID times. Are you sure this is going to sustain? So I think, like, the baseline for everyone was, let's wait it out for 6 months and we'll get back to you, right? And what they said in hindsight now actually stands correct. It was because of COVID that a lot of demand came up. It was in fact, our revenues today are the same as what we had done about 2 years back, right? Not sharing too much about that, but I want the people to know. It's not that we are growing exponentially, but our revenues back then, let's say we spend 1 rupee, we used to make 10 rupees out of it. Today the situation has become, we spend the same 9 rupees to make that 10 rupees, right? Because of the decisions that we had taken, assuming that the growth is going to be similar.
So you're having to
we
scale
made a
back.
lot of investments.
You have to scale
Yeah,
back.
we used a rented learning management system. We started building one in house. That was an expensive affair. We started making content, not just for, in terms of basic aesthetics. We started making a lot of investment into video editors, how it looks and everything. So all of those things now has become a fixed cost for us. So that's the way it is, and I wouldn't blame anyone for it. I think, like, the whole ecosystem sort of believed that this will continue, and unfortunately it did not.
Little bit of herd mentality.
And if you see right now, most of the edtechs that are doing really well are opening up offline centers. So it's going the other way around. You
Understood.
you started saying, online is the future, and now you're saying no, online plus
Plus
offline,
offline.
or only offline will work. It is working in terms of the finances, but not really for the larger
Okay.
ecosystem of how education has to be delivered.
Understood. So Rahul, if I can ask you,
Yeah.
what's the current user base you have?
So we have about 350,000 on the platform. I think like we have monthly active users of about 20-25,000.
Okay.
There's about 1.5 lakh people who are paid customers. That's
Why is the level of engagement?
the level of engagement. Yes. So essentially, what we have to look at, MSR, is education is a cycle, right? If you see in the month of
March.
January or March or anything like that, when students are actually going through the exams and everything, it is sometimes directly and inversely proportional to how much time they spend on a platform. What is important for them at that point of time, right? In a summer holidays time, I tend to spend more time on the platform. Maybe when I'm going through my own exams, I'm like, yeah, let's put the online platform away, let me focus on my studies and get that pass mark, or get me the 9 percentile, or whatever it is. So I think it's very cyclic that way. And second, I think like now everything is moving towards uh, because of social media, again, the amount of attention span
So it's
for a
decreasing.
student has changed. So I think even we are in that phase of exploring what's next for us.
Understood.
How can we move that into maybe micro courses, something that can be scrolled like this, something that can be swiped like this? How do we move into that as
Sachet-sized courses.
sachet side? Yeah, absolutely. That's
Correct.
something that we are exploring and discussing, and every day we having sort of these discussions as to what's next.
Understood.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Rahul. I really appreciate your candidness throughout the conversation. Right, you haven't held back and been very transparent and upfront.
Right.
Okay. So, Rahul,
Yeah.
how does beyond financial metrics, right?
Right.
Revenue, subscriber growth,
Right.
and blah blah.
Right.
Right. How do you measure success?
Sure.
What will success look for, like for you
Sure.
and Unschool, beyond financial metrics?
Sure. So I think about 3 years back in 2021, we were ranked number 3 in LinkedIn's top startups list of 2021 or 2020. Why I take that name is because I don't see that as my HR team's success or my success or the company's success per se. Because if any other organization is awarding you that, they'll probably ask you for financial metrics, growth metric, etc. But when LinkedIn did that, they had sent me a questionnaire which was all about how do you look at employee retention, employee growth, etc. So that was testament to the fact that because they were looking at data of what kind of people from which company are joining Unschool. After doing a stint in Unschool, what kind of company are they getting into? How many students are interning with Unschool? I mean, having in their LinkedIn profile that I'm a campus ambassador or student ambassador with Unschool. And then eventually, what kind of salaries and what kind of jobs and companies are they getting into? That was really a proud moment for me, that we were ranked number 3 within 2 years of establishing this organization among the likes of Cred, Oyo, etc., etc.
Before we close, 2 or 3 areas which I wanted to talk to you about a little bit.
Right.
You've become an iconic figure in Hyderabad, and you've been closely associated with T-Hub for a length of time. Can you just share, the role which T-Hub has played in
Yeah.
your journey?
Yeah.
How has the engagement, the interaction with T-Hub been for you?
Sure.
Right, and obviously it'll be good for the people who are listening to this to get some insights from you on how you can leverage what
Yeah.
they can potentially leverage what T-Hub is trying to do.
Absolutely. I think when I speak about T-Hub, I would like to speak about the network or the people more than the programs and everything, because my association with T-Hub has predominantly has been with the people. be it Mr. Ravinarayan, be it you, be it the people of T Hub. They're always available at any point of time. They're always approachable. They speak to you. So, having that sort of ecosystem where there's this organization that knows people, that enables people towards entrepreneurship, that has built the world's largest entrepreneurial ecosystem, having that immediate access. Because I've been involved with a lot of other incubation centers, etc. There's always this sense of ego or entitlement that is attached to them, but that's something that I did not notice in T Hub, and that's something that I really appreciate. And to speak about facts, like I was part of the Lab 32 program, Unschool was part of it. Unfortunately, it was just the beginning of the COVID
Cool.
era at that point of time, and it was not much that I could take back from the program as such. But what I kept from there is the people. And I think this is a message from my side also to others. There was no reason for me to be associated with T Hub after my Lab 32 program was done, and that also because of COVID did not happen to the fullest extent that it was intended to be. But for me, my idea was this is an ecosystem that is important in the city, and how can I leverage that ecosystem? How can I keep in touch with the right people of the organization? Was something that for 2 3 years when I spoke to people, it did not lead to anything, but today I stand in front of you having a nice relationship with you. So I think for all the young entrepreneurs out there, it's not always about whenever I meet someone, what can I get from them immediately, right? How do you maintain that connection with them and see what comes out of it that can be mutually beneficial for both the parties over time? And overall, in the beginning when I joined Lab 32, I was this young founder who was, I think, like 24 years old, right? It was first time hearing the word business model canvas, first time hearing the word conversion rate, click through rate. It was seriously going above my head as a bouncer. But I think, like, I met people who knew as much as me, which is nothing. I also met people who already had 5 years of experience, worked in the US, came back to Hyderabad to start their own thing. So I had this myriad of people that I met and exchanged conversations, exchanged contacts with, who still remain to be friends, right? Who still remain to be people that I want to do business with at some point of time, work with them at some point of time. So I think that's what T Hub has given me and several other hundreds, thousands of people out there, that feeling that you are part of an ecosystem where you just have to do the hard work and everything else will come to you.
The
There's T Hub who
community,
can
the whole
provide you with
community.
those small pieces. It can, when you're trying to make the whole circle, hard work, commitment is your thing. But getting the remaining pieces together, I think T Hub plays a great role and a pivotal role in that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question, Rahul. I wish I could go on, but I think, last question. So, in terms of, you're a Hyderabadi,
Yeah.
right? Hardcore, Hyderabadi. So, in terms of how do you see, so two parts.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see the landscape in Hyderabad
Mm-hmm.
for young entrepreneurs?
Right.
And you are a great example of that. How do you see that playing out? And how do you see, last question about where do you see Unschool, let's say 3 years from now?
Right. So Hyderabad, I think definitely it has a long way to go, and so does India, right? I'm not speaking about a city in particular, but India has a long way to go in terms of showing its true potential to the world, which we have started. And I think Hyderabad is one of those places where it's not, the best part about Hyderabad is it not being saturated. I think, like, Hyderabad as an ecosystem is still young to an
Evolving.
extent, right? And so is India. But then, being young, also, if India can create ripples in the whole entrepreneurial ecosystem in the world, I can only imagine what Hyderabad is going to be about 3 to 5 years from now. Yes, there are cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi where you have immediate access to people around you with the same mindset, and the society is pushing you in terms of motivating you to build your startup and continuing to build that, because you look to your left, there's a startup founder, you look to your right, there is a startup founder, right? And I think I would take the analogy of my own college. In my own college, people do a lot of things outside the classroom as much as they are sitting inside the classroom, and that's what gave a lot of entrepreneurs out of SRM, out of IITs for that matter, out of Manipals and BITs of the country. That's how I see Hyderabad also being, although it's younger stages. But I think the silver lining is that Hyderabad is not as saturated as the
Okay.
cities out there, and I think that is a bonus that people don't really look at directly. But I think that is a boon for sure. And yes, like ecosystems like T-Hub and everything make it a great place to be in, great place to start up in. I would really, really encourage more people. In fact, my fellow founders from different companies who were in the Forbes 30 under 30 list before me, the first message they sent to me was, great to see a Hyderabad community member being part of the list. So that's the sort of camaraderie that is coming in into the Hyderabad ecosystem, and I think it has great future. And I think if there's a place that you can start, it has to be Hyderabad for sure. Overall, and speaking about Unschool, I think yes, we also are facing that a dip in terms of uh, not a lot of traction coming in, not a lot of interest coming in. We are sort of seeing that uh, place where, is this the way we want to go? Is there something that we can do to pivot? Is there something that we can do to get an exit opportunity? To be honest, we are exploring all of these things. We are not looking at a place where we are saying that the Unschool, the way it is going to be a great startup in 3 years from now. But we are having a lot of discussions in the boardroom about what can we do to be relevant and to be on top of the list in 3 years from now. So because for us, we are very ambitious people. If you're doing something, we want to be top 1%. Otherwise, not might as well not do
Not
it.
do it.
So for us, the conversations in the boardroom are about what can we do right now to make sure in 3 years from now we're part of the top 1%.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Rahul. This has been an amazing conversation. I have learned so much and look forward and all the best. You've had a great journey till date and wish you even more wonderful journey in future. Thank you.
My pleasure, MSR.